Lori, it's so good to be here with you today. This is, I feel like we keep branding this Saturday story time, kind of like the Saturday cartoons, but Green Adventures every Saturday. I think we said last week, this last week was our seventh week, but we're 8 weeks running Saturday mornings. Tracey Seward here, and I feel like I've been here with you all 8 of these weeks, which actually has been incredibly fun. And the stories that we've told and different tour leaders that we brought on to the Saturday Lives has been incredibly fun. And I'm super excited, Lori, to have you here with us today. So I'll come to you here in a second. You hold a special place in my heart, and I'll tell you why here in a second. But Tracey Seward with Green Adventures, for those of you that are just joining us. And for the next 30 minutes, we laugh about this because we say we're going to tell stories about Green Adventures tours. We're going to answer your questions. We might highlight and spotlight a tour, which we're going to do today. Sometimes, Lori, we talk about mishaps. Tara and I are like, oh, can you remember when that happened? So we'll see if that comes up today because we've traveled together. But really excited to be with you here every single Saturday morning. As I've shared a couple of times here in the past, I've spent decades in the corporate environment, and I laugh about this because I talk about trading my pencil skirts and my high heels, 4-inch heels for my hiking boots, which makes me incredibly happy these days. And that is why I'm excited to be here with Green Adventures. I lead our tours, our hiking tours. I lead Peru tours to Machu Picchu, the Inca Trail, which is coming up in September. That tour for everybody is already confirmed, but there are still plenty of spots left. And I also lead our Kilimanjaro hike, which is a fun hike, also in Africa, which we're going to talk about today. And then there's a lot of other hikes that I roll into if I need to roll into Lago Vega, etc. But Lori, I was going to say how many tours, Green Adventures tours I've been on. You take the cake, and I'm going to turn to you here in a second. But I started my adventures with Green Adventures in a student tour concept with my daughter. And that's exactly as I've shared, I think, many times here on the lives with you. That's how Green Adventures got started. It goes all the way back to 2009. And one of Tara's first trips was a student adventure. My student adventure with my daughter was in 2015, 2016 to Trinidad. And I think I've been on maybe 10, 11, 12 of the Green Adventures tours. But as I flip it over to my good friend Lori here, who I met on one of the tours in Africa, I don't even know, Lori, how many you've been on, but you need to tell everybody. It's a lot. You're the oracle, you're the master, the mother of Green Adventures. And I know that you're about ready to take off on tour for a couple of months. So I'm super honored to be here with you today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this. You and I, we could talk Green Adventures all day long
Yeah, we
and
could.
travel. Yeah, my story with Green Adventures started in 2019, and my very first trip was to Tanzania, and that's where I met you. And at that point in my life, I was looking for a way to travel as a single woman and how to do that safely. And I got a tip through a great friend about Green Adventures. She had been on the Baja trips. She's like, Laura, you got to check this company out. I think this will be a good fit for you. So I went on the Tanzania trip, loved it. And that was in 2019. And since then, I've been a participant on 18 trips and I've led 16. And that's
18.
that's if I even look at that number, it seems like an insane number, but it's all been fun and all been good.
Yeah. So you've led 16, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so like the I know you're Africa,
Hmm.
Tanzania. Give
Yep.
the audience here the tours that you have led as well too, or does it stay by and large with just that Tanzania,
Uh,
Uganda?
yeah, I mean, the first trip I led was the Northwoods, Wisconsin. We were doing that for a while in fall, and so that was the first one. I've led the dog sledding trips in northern Wisconsin. Had a student trip in Northwoods, Wisconsin. I've led the Idaho salmon trips, 80 miles rafting down the salmon. I've led a couple of the Iceland multi-sport trips. And I just got back from, we had a group in Yellowstone, winter to see the winter wolves. Yeah.
That's on my list as well too. Did you mention Greenland? That you've been on Greenland? You didn't lead
I
Greenland,
I didn't lead
but
Greenland. I
you
was a
but you were
participant
in
on
Greenland,
Greenland.
which
Yeah.
is a newer trip for Green Adventures, which I
Yep.
think is just incredible. So yeah. Okay, is there a continent you've not been on?
Oh yeah, yeah. I have not been to Australia. I have not been
Okay.
to Antarctica.
Okay. Maybe two more that are coming for Lori
Yeah.
in her lifetime here, and maybe for Green Adventures as well. So thank you. So this is the topic here today for us that we're going to focus on, but I say this every single time as well too. For those of you that are out there with us live, this is for you today. So if there is a topic that's on your mind, you know that Lori and I will pick it up, and we've got Shauna out there as well too, our social media leader, and drop it in the chat and let us know what you want to talk about. Also, which is why I kind of was thinking about the Antarctica. I know that Tara's thinking about that as well too. Antarctica or Australia. If there is a destination, continent, country on your mind as well, this is exactly how the adventures at Green Adventures become real. I don't know how many times Lori, Tara and I have been somewhere in the world and we said, hey, what if we went and did this, right? And then it becomes something, it becomes real, which is actually where my first time to Africa happened as well too. So just a couple of maybe housekeeping things as well too. So again, we've talked a little bit about the tours that we lead, but just to give an idea, all of the Green Adventures tours, the summer tours are confirmed. And we've talked about that in the past as well too. What does that mean? That means the tour is going to happen. It is absolutely confirmed. There are enough individuals that are signed up to the tour, but there are spots on all of those tours. So, and a couple of them, at least one of them we're going to talk about here today is Africa. And when I spoke to Lori about joining me here today, we've been to Africa together. I thought that would be fun to talk about, but it's also letting her give you the behind the scenes, what gets her excited about it, and how do you get ready for a big bucket list item? Because that is exactly why I went and did the safari. It was on my bucket list. And then I've been back, I don't know how many times as well too. So that's our topic for today. We'll come back and keep watching for your comments and your questions. But Lori, I'm going to jump in. So for me, why Africa and what's special for you about Africa?
Yeah, Africa was on my bucket list. I just, love wild animals. And so like I said, when I was first introduced to Green Adventures and I looked at the all the itineraries, that one stood out to me first. Of course, I wanted to do them all, but that one really stood out to me, and I just jumped at that chance. Love seeing the wild animals, but on our trips, we also spend time with, especially in Tanzania, we spend time with 4 different tribes, indigenous tribes, and that's as big of a highlight as seeing the wild animals.
Yeah, that to me is one of I talk about the trip all the time. And it's funny, I hadn't thought about this memory since before you said it, but it is one of those memories is going off into the bush, and or going into some of the other tribes as well, that it's incredible. It's like, first of all, you start to say to yourself, gosh, wow, am I really here? Am I really doing this? Am I leaving the van and going out somewhere? Is it safe? 100% it's safe. But then with these tribes, the moments, Lori, I think we were together. I just remember, and I don't remember which tribe this was right now, but making and shooting the arrows, the bow and arrows
Yes,
out
that's
in
a
the
Hadzabe tribe.
Hadzabe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we spend a good amount of time with them, and they teach us how to shoot bow and arrows.
Yeah.
They may demonstrate fire making. They dance and ask us to join in on the dance. We see the beadwork that they do, how they live off the land, and so we learn what root vegetables are they searching for and digging for. It's totally immersive. You are right there and have the opportunity to try any and all of that. I love it.
And it isn't like, and I mean, when I went on this one, again, I haven't thought about this one in a while, but I remember it isn't like you pull up in the Jeep and you just step out and you're there. We went out and went into the
Yes.
bush to travel back in to meet them as well too,
Yes.
right? So you
Yes.
really were immersed in
Yes.
how and where they live.
Right. And we pick an
Yeah.
interpreter up along the way because they speak with a click language. And so we have an interpreter with us, and we can ask any question we want, but they're very happy to share everything about their life, answer any questions we may have. It's absolutely fascinating. Yeah.
I remember,
You're living a live, Nat Geo moment. Yeah.
yeah. And every moment of just like any Green Adventures tours is you never know what's going to happen next as well too. I remember we were pulling out, and I don't know, but we were pulling out what was left over in our lunches, and we thought, well, we would just as kind, Americans, we were going to share as well with them. But we were told, and I don't know if you still do this, but don't share our food. This might not be food that they're
Mm.
that they're used to eating as well too. So. Yeah. Lori, thank you for the reminder of that. I just, for me, go back to now to some of my favorite things about Africa. Um, just out in the Serengeti at night, in the daytime too, but at night specifically, just stepping out of the tent and looking up at the sky. And I say this all the time. I feel like I was in a snow globe.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The clarity and the animals that you hear all night long, right?
Yes.
I just, the sounds are just incredible.
More stars in the sky than you even thought were possible. Unbelievable. You can't see that in the city. There's just too much light around. But you get out on that savannah, look up in the night sky, and it's absolutely incredible.
It
Yeah.
doesn't seem real. It really does not seem real.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We tell people,
So,
remember to look up. Remember to look up.
yeah. Well, I still, I say that even in the city of Chicago, it's quite the different place in the city of Chicago, but we don't do that enough, period. But this is a place that you want to look up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you and I've talked about so many of our other travels and our times together. And I mean, we've got some good memories even on that trip as well, too. But if I were to just say, what was a moment traveling to Africa that just seriously gave you goosebumps or chills, or one that you will never forget?
Ooh, there are a lot. When it comes to Africa, there are a lot. Um, we're all used to seeing, we've been to the zoo, we've seen the big animals, behind the fence, at a zoo. But when you see them in the wild for the first time, or for the 10th time, the 100th time, it never
I was
gets
going to say,
old.
not just the first time.
Not just the first
Yeah.
time, it never gets old. First, you can't believe what you're seeing, that you're there and that you're seeing it. And you may be seeing an entire herd of elephants. They may be at a distance, they may be close to the vehicle. Just an unbelievable settings like you can never experience in a zoo. And one of the things that always gives me chills is we see big cats often, and often they may walk right past our vehicle. Yeah.
You and I've talked about this. And I mean, even on the tour that we were on, we were in separate cars, we were in separate Jeeps when we were together. And that goes back to, I don't even know when that it was, 2017, I think it was
2019.
19,
Yeah.
19. But I still remember even that moment, like just as we were, I mean, and I have the pictures as well too, but just the cat that then is just right below the van and looking at what you guys are looking at in the other van, but how close the animals are to us.
Yeah.
What's neat about that is the drivers, you don't know what you're going to experience, but you
Yes.
will always experience something. I'm sure you can promise everybody that. But
Yeah,
they will
absolutely.
take us, Lori, right? As you're on tour, they're watching and they're watching very closely and they're going to get us to the action.
Absolutely. They're very, very good at what they do. They know animal behavior so well. They know what time of day to look for, what animal. They know where to go, when. They never disappoint. They never
Yeah.
disappoint. And you never know. We could be riding along, maybe haven't seen anything for a while, and then boom, we're in the middle of a bunch of action. Yeah.
It's almost like the guys, I'm like, can you just smell them or something? What is it? Because all of a sudden it's like, there they are and we're going,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I swear that they have like, I don't know, bionic vision or something
Yeah.
because they'll be like, there's a cheetah, 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
And how they first sight it is I don't get it. I don't understand how
Yeah.
they do it, but they do, and then they get us all in on the spot, and there we go. Off on
Yeah.
another
And
adventure.
I was laughing because it made me think about, yeah, and definitely this probably happens on every single tour because you've been there so many times, but we're in the vans and it's like we got to go, or we've got to go this route, and this route might have some water, it might just be a little bit rocky or whatever. And it is attach yourself, right? And what does that mean? Hang on. Right.
Yep, every
Attach
seat
yourself,
has a
please.
handle. Every seat has a handle right here. The
Yeah.
roads are usually gravel. They could be potholes. We may take, there are times, depending upon what they see, we go off-road and, go out onto the Serengeti itself for a while. Attach
Yeah.
yourself, hang on.
Attach yourself, right. So if there are individuals out there, Lori, and I'd love for you just to, tell stories or go where you want to go. But I I know I talk with a lot of ladies, and it's the gosh, traveling alone and I've never traveled alone, and we'll have that conversation, right, about what that looks like. Or I've always dreamt of going to Tanzania. I've always dreamt of going, wherever. But I'm a little afraid. I don't know. I've never been out of the country. I've never, and I start to think about this morning. It's like, what is the mindset? What would you tell individuals
Yeah.
and, who are saying, I want this, or I'm
Yeah.
dreaming about this,
Yeah.
but I'm a little bit uncertain and afraid.
Yeah, and I hear that a lot. And so what I tell people is, first of all, on all of our trips, we front load everybody with a lot of information. What to do as far as applying for visas, what for Africa, you will need to visit like your doctor or travel clinic and see, what meds you may need to take. There may be shots that you need to catch up on. So we front load you with all that information so you don't have to research it yourself. Okay, so that's at the front end. But when you get there, our guide is waiting for you at the airport. They know when everybody's flights are coming in. They're waiting for you at the airport. They are then with us 24/7, including taking us back to the airport. And what I learned, as we walk into that airport door, they don't leave. They don't leave that parking lot until they know we have gotten through security and we're back to the gates to get our flight home. So I've never felt safer. They're with us 24/7. And we're not in any, we're not in any dangerous areas. We are out on the Serengeti. We're out doing safaris. It's very, very safe. It's one of the safest trips I've ever been on.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I want to say one more thing that I think about, and you're just such a pinnacle of the before as well, and ensuring and during. But and you've got trips that are coming up right now. You've got a couple coming up in a month, and I'd love for you to share with the audience what you're doing. But you and the rest of us, we've got the pre-trip WhatsApp group chats that we set up for all of you. So once you've decided, right, we're here before to help you decide, and once you've decided and you've booked your trip, that we're the moment that starts, right? The questions you're going to have more. You're going to start to think about packing. You're going to think about whatever. You don't know what you're going to think about until it's time. And you're constantly active in the WhatsApp group with your groups, and the questions are they're all over the place, and that's okay. And we're ready for that.
Yeah, and we use those WhatsApp chats. The one good thing about them is, this person may have a question. Actually, many people have that same question. Okay, so one person asks it, it's getting it answered for everybody, and it also may trigger someone else's question. This is a group effort, which we work as a group, we travel as a group, and we're supporting each other as a group. And the questions, especially with the Africa trips, is the color of our clothing is important. We want to blend in. We want to blend in. So there's a lot of questions about color. Is this appropriate? Is that appropriate? I say this is one of the easiest trips to travel on. You don't have to worry about dressy clothes for dinner. We go to dinner in the safari clothes that we had on during the day. We're wearing a hat most of the day because we're out near the equator. The sun can be bright, so we're in a hat. We don't care about hat hair. We wear our hats to dinner. It's the easiest trip to go on in that regard.
That's a great point.
Dress for comfort.
Lori, so you traveled to Uganda, you do to Tanzania. Is packing different for those two tours?
It's almost exactly the same. There are just a few elements for Uganda that we don't have in Tanzania. In Uganda, we trek into the jungle to find the chimpanzees on one day, and on another day we trek into the forest to find the mountain gorillas. And like on Mountain Gorilla Day, we also need to have gloves because we are in the thick of things, and you may need to grab onto a vine, or you may need to push this forest bush away. And so we just want, to protect our hands from anything that might have thorns, anything that might be sticky. So it's minor things like that where the packing list might be different. But other than that, they're almost identical.
Yeah, that's good. You raise another point, and we've talked about this, and I know we've saved probably a Facebook Live where we talked about packing, Lori, packing lists. We probably talk about it every single Saturday a little bit as well. And I've got to put the plug in as well. Getting ready, right? You're still wondering. You could imagine, you could research, you could do whatever you needed to on Google, but our packing lists are just next to none out there. And we're building these packing lists because we've been there. We know what works.
Yes.
We know what isn't necessary. We know what is optional. And those packing lists, and every single time we leave a tour, like we lead a tour, we come back, and we review the packing list and we didn't use that, or by the way, it would have been amazing to have whatever. In
Yes.
Peru, for example, I say don't ever forget your I get blistered lips every single time in Peru. We are so close to the equator. So do not forget your lips and do not forget your chapstick with the highest sunscreen possible. But the packing lists, and I know you review them and help us modify every
Yeah.
single time you travel.
Yeah, our
Yeah.
packing lists are so comprehensive.
Yeah.
It just saves the day. You don't have to think about it. You know,
Yeah.
follow the
And
packing list and you'll be
I
good.
mean, I think even Lori, what it reminds me of in Africa, this is where where I first bought some of my softer duffels, my rolling duffels or my soft duffels. And I think again to help you imagine, you're in safari vehicle and you need the softer duffels, right? So again, back to the exact leaders and the soft duffels, and it's critical that you have them. Yeah,
Yes. Yep, absolutely. And again, the packing list is right down to what size duffel.
yeah,
And they
exactly.
all, because as we move from one lodge to another, they're all packed on top of one another in this very narrow space that's at the very back of the safari vehicle. And hard-sided luggage with wheels, it just wouldn't cut it. They wouldn't
Yeah,
fit. So we're trying to
yeah,
travel as efficiently as possible.
yeah.
One other thing I like about the trips to Africa, probably unlike maybe any of the other trips that we have, is you have the opportunity to get laundry done along the way.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, so anytime we're at a lodge more than 2 nights, they all offer laundry
Lake
service.
Diluti, right? That's right.
Oh yeah,
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 and I
yeah.
love it.
Lunch.
If nothing else, refresh your pajamas and it just feels good for the rest of the trip. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
love that.
definitely not the same on a Mount Kilimanjaro hike. So you definitely have to know and prepare and realize that you might be in the exact same pants for 7 to 8 days. So,
Yes.
but yeah. So let's take, well, we've got a few minutes left. I'd love for you to tell, I don't know, just memorable stories of if people are on the edge and thinking about a bucket list tour, like heading off to Tanzania, and maybe you want to tell everybody where you're going because you're going to be gone for 2 months,
Sure.
but how might they make the decision? Or what are some of the great stories that you have and
Yeah.
memories of the tours?
Yeah. Okay. So for where I'm heading off in the next month, it's actually 4 trips back to back, which is the first time that we have this for
That
Africa.
is,
4 trips back to back. We have Uganda women and women's trip, and there's still room on that, and there's still time to do that if anybody's curious. And on that trip is where we see the highlights are we see the chimpanzees and the gorillas, along with numerous safaris. And right after that is Tanzania women's trip, and we have room on that trip as well. And that is safaris in their national parks, and we spend time with 4 indigenous tribes. Right after that, I have a co-ed Tanzania trip. Now we don't market the co-ed demographic, but when we hear of interest, then we can put a trip together. And I was hearing a lot in the past year of people that were interested in going to Africa. Or I'd ask them like, you should join us on Tanzania, and be like, I can't do that without my husband, or I can't do that without my partner. And like we heard enough of that, we were able to put a co-ed trip together. Okay. And then right after that one, we have a Tanzania private trip. Okay. And people may not know about that, but if you have a group of, I don't know, 10 friends or whatever, Tara can build a private trip for any one of our destinations. And so that's just how this one worked out. They were all 4 timed back to back.
I'm glad you put that plug in there, and I'll pause you here in a second. It doesn't necessarily have to be even 10. So if again, if you're thinking about even 4 to 6, reach out to us and tell us. And then, I mean, maybe there's 4 to 6 others that are starting to think about, a private
Yeah.
tour as well too.
Right.
I mean, I'm working on a tour right now for 2 in Peru too.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
so yeah,
Yeah.
so again, so I love that you brought that up because it isn't necessarily just women's only tours.
Right.
And you've got 2 of the tours that are unique to Green Adventures that we 100% can put together,
Yeah.
co-ed or a private tour. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing that I want to mention about like the Uganda and the Tanzania trips is people are worried like can they do it? Okay, like can they physically do it? Tanzania by far is our easiest trip to do from a physical standpoint. Okay, there are no long hikes on that trip. the only thing I would like even define as a hike is what you described when we're with the Bushmen.
Yeah.
The Bushmen will, if you want to participate, they'll take us out on a small hunt in the morning when they're after birds and small mammals. But that's really the only hike portion of that trip. Most of the time we are riding in the Jeep and out on safari. So that's an easy trip to
Yeah.
do, very easy trip to do.
That's a great point. Because a lot of times that's another question that we get. Physically, what physical fitness do I need to have
Right.
for a respective tour? Or sometimes people say, Lori, and I hear it all the time, am I too old for this?
No
No,
way. Yeah,
right.
no way.
No.
Last year,
Yeah.
I had someone in their mid 80s.
Yeah.
And again, it was a bucket list item for her and her friend. Her friend was every year would say, I want to go to Africa. I want to go to Africa. And then she heard me talking about the trip and she just straight out asked me, Lori, do you think I can do this? I said, I know you can. I know you
Yeah.
can.
Right.
And her friend was extremely surprised when she finally called and said, I'm ready to go. And they joined us
This is
last year.
where the conversations with us really, really come to play. And know that we're out here, we're humans, we're not AI bots, but
Yeah.
we're out here to help you make a decision if there's a question in your mind as well too. So Lori, there's a comment out there from Sandy, if she's still out there as well too. Don't forget Infinity Pool to Lori and Warthogs as your favorite.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I say warthogs are my spirit animal, my African
Oh, the
continent
little
spirit
Pumbas.
animal. Okay. What I love about warthogs is when they run, their tail goes straight up in the air and as they're running and they just like always look happy. And they're
Yeah.
probably not, they're probably being chased by something, but they always look happy. So the poor, and they're certainly not going to win any contest for cute animal of the year. But I love them. That's my spirit animal. Yeah, and we
I'm
saw
so
them.
glad.
There's
I'm so
an infinity
yeah.
pool at one of our last lodges, and we saw a bunch running around there. Thanks,
Yeah,
Sandy.
Sandy, thank you. Yeah, thanks for that comment. That's great. Sandy, I love it because I love that we came back to the favorite. That is your favorite animal. That's your spirit animal.
It's my
Yeah.
spirit animal,
Yeah. I
my
love.
African continent spirit
Yeah.
animal.
Yeah.
That's,
I love for me the lionesses, the lions just move me. And I think it's the motherly,
yeah,
instinct in me for the lionesses. But one of my favorite things, Lori, that and maybe it's like watching The Lion King 10,000 times as well too, but it is the great oh my gosh, the Great Migration. Sorry, I almost forgot it. And that is where every single time I go there, I'm like, where can we go? Can we at least get there on this tour? But to me, that is just a spectacular and I see it every time. I don't know if you see it every single
yep.
time.
We have
Yeah,
that. It's never a
spectacular.
guarantee. It's never a
Yeah,
guarantee, but our
right.
guides work really, really hard to find it. What the Great Migration is millions of wildebeest and zebras are moving in this large circle throughout the Serengeti, and it's in Tanzania, and then later in the year that moves up into Kenya and that comes back, and all of these animals are following the rain. Okay, like the wildebeest, this is what like as a mom like makes my head explode. The wildebeest give birth along this great
And keep
migration,
going.
and they keep going. And they
Yeah.
keep going. So like our guides work very hard to find, for us to find, a section of the Great Migration. And when you see those numbers, you cannot believe what you're seeing. It's unbelievable.
You can't. And you can't and you will see, I mean, because there are so many and they're going so fast.
Yeah.
I've seen some, tragedy along the way as well too. And I mean, it breaks your heart and you kind of watch and I stay watching and then all of a sudden I might see one fall over, but then I see them pop back up again as well too. But it's just the survival piece of this with the zebras and the wildebeest. For me, it's just something that I know when I came back the last time as well too. I mean, I had dreams about it. It just it was just in my soul, right? So
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite places in the world. And I mean, for anybody again that is still contemplating, for anybody that might be going, that's watching, Lori, I know that you are the best guide, hands down, but I know your love for this country as well,
Love it.
continent as well too. So you will be in great hands with Lori. And I know Shauna, I was pinging out here too. Hopefully, if you're out there and you're wondering about the links and is there still availability on these tours that are coming up, there is. If you're interested, please reach out to us or get signed up.
Yep. Not too late. It is not too
Yeah,
late.
it's not too late. Any closing thoughts for you? And I'll
Oh
wrap us up here.
my
But
gosh. I would just say, if you're thinking about it at all, just do it. Just do
yeah,
it. If you have any reservations, any questions, just, reach out to us, ask. Um, we'll help you out. we'll help you get there. And once you're there, we've got your back. We've got your back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so, so very true. And those are the exact words I use. And I'm pulling from Nike, but just do it.
Do
I
it.
will also say, maybe in closing as well, Lori, that a lot of times people are here and they're listening and they may be joining our webinars and they're like, I'm just interested, but I might not be able to do it until 2026. And we're already starting to put our 2026 trips together. So we do have a few of our tours out there already for 2026. We do want your ideas for new tours if Africa's not up your alley, but you're thinking about something else. I would say, just to put the plug in, and this, necessarily was not, it's a very different going to the safari and the Serengeti versus climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. That's the tour that I lead. That is, I think you'll be coming home and I'm just
Yeah.
going to be going back over
Yeah.
there. But what I love to do at the end of this, and we're doing it this year as well too. So we've got the hike, and then they're, summiting Mount Kilimanjaro, and I think it's June 30th, I think is the summit day. But then we have a small safari on the back of it. It is
Awesome.
one of the best and incredible celebrations of the hike that we just did and we did together. So I can't wait. Yeah, I can't
Awesome.
wait.
I can't wait.
So yeah, I know. And you're packing and getting ready right now. So and you and I could talk about this, I think, all weekend long. That was exactly, I was just thinking about so many stories that we experienced even when we were together. So, but thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
And for everybody out there, if you're still with us, just a reminder, our summer tours are all confirmed. Shauna will be posting a link to our Green Adventure site. You can see what's available. Let us know what you're dreaming of. We've talked a little bit about this in the past too. So there are smaller trips that we're creating right now too, that are of a different price point and of a different length and time. So we've got a couple of the local type of excursions in the Midwest that we're putting together. And if you've got a location and you're out there and you're interested in maybe putting one together or have an idea for us, we're calling them Green Adventures Minis. But let us know that as well too.
Awesome.
So thank you, everybody, and happy Saturday. Lori, thank you so much for being here. It was an honor.
So long, everybody.
All right.
Thanks, Tracy.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.